All over the world, there are strange and fun festivals. Most of the time, there's an old legend or story involved that may or may not be true. Only the old-timers know for sure, but they're not telling. Sometimes they're focused around a strange event or phenomenon the town or area is known for, and then sometimes they're just thought up by a couple townsfolk in a local saloon because why not? This week, I'll talk about a few that take place in the West. As a note, with a couple exceptions, most of these take place in small towns, or at least in smaller neighborhoods. I'm not including music festivals or big expensive paid festivals like Burning Man. There may be a couple that are still very popular on the list, like the Gilroy Garlic Festival, but I thought it was important to include here because they're so unique. Frozen Dead Guy Days, Nederland, Estes Park, Colorado. This is where winter gets weird, is the festival's motto. In the freezing temps of the Rockies, there's music, pop-ups, art, polar plunges, frozen turkey bowling, and coffin races. Estes Park, known for the huge population of elk and the home of Stanley Hotel, where The Shining takes place, comes alive in the winter for this wild festival. The origin of this festival is really interesting. It's the kind of tale that if an old guy in the bar told you, you probably wouldn't believe him. But there's a long paper trail on this, and lots of people who were around when it happened, so we know it's a true story. The festival started in 2002 in Nederland, Colorado, to celebrate Bredo Morsdal, a Norwegian man cryogenically frozen in a backyard tough shed since 1993. After Bredo died in 1989, his grandson Trig Baug, sorry for the pronunciation, brought him to Colorado, keeping him on dry ice, creating a local sensation that inspired the quirky annual winter festival. And you just know the idea for this festival wasn't made sober. The website says the festival takes place in Estes Park, but I watched a YouTube video about it that says it's in Nederland. So it's a mystery where it really happens. But the two towns aren't that far apart, so that's good. Mike the Headless Chicken Fest in Fruita, Colorado. Mike was a chicken in 1945 that lived 18 months without a head, and they celebrate his headless life at this festival. Mike became famous, and people would visit the farm to see this chicken of wonder. I'm sure there wasn't a whole lot to do in Fruita back then. I'm not so sure that much has changed. The owners, the Olsons, actually took him to Long Beach as a sideshow. The sailors pulling up to shore would stop and watch him. Mike drew crowds of 600 per day. It takes place at the end of May, so the weather in southern Colorado should be perfect. There's a beer garden, car show, music, and a peep and wing eating contest, and a chicken dance. Of course there is. Annual mooning of Amtrak in Laguna Niguel, California. I'm not sure if this can be called a festival, but I had to include it. It's just too great. Every July, the area in front of the Mugs Away Saloon in Laguna Niguel, California, fills with laughter, cheers, and countless bare backsides. The Amtrak Mooning Festival began in 1979 as a bar prank and has since grown into a legendary event where hundreds to thousands gather nationwide to drop their pants and moon passing Amtrak trains, a uniquely American celebration of freedom and fun. Okay, that sounds like a blast, huh? The Gilroy Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California. I wasn't sure if I was going to include this in there because it's a huge festival and many of us have already heard it and probably been to it at one time or another. I've been to it a couple times, but that was years ago, and it's so popular now it's gotten a bit too crowded for me. But it's worthwhile going at least once, especially if you love garlic. There's not a lot else in Gilroy, and if you've driven on Highway 101 through that area, you know that there are tract homes, some Silicon Valley outlier companies, and lots of farms growing all sorts of crops. The festival was put on hold in 2022, but it came back strong last year in July. The Gilroy Garlic Festival is all about food. Garlic is cooked in everything imaginable. Ever have garlic ice cream? You can at this festival. You can try garlic jelly, garlic beer, garlic olive, garlic chocolate. Be open-minded and go for it. Bring your own big wheel race, San Francisco, California. Did you know that Lombard is not the most crooked street in San Francisco? That's right. Vermont Street in the Potrero Hills district is the most crooked street. The huge difference is Vermont Street is not in the center of a tourist area. It lays in the Potrero Hills, which is a bit out of the way for tourists. Which doesn't mean you shouldn't visit. Some of the best pizza in town can be found at Goat Hill Pizza on 18th Street, and the views from the tops of these hills there are spectacular. You get different views, and it's great. Every Easter on Vermont Street, they hold the Bring Your Own Big Wheel Race. You can register no matter your age and race your rig down this crooked street to a huge crowd cheering you on. What a fun day! And there are separate races for kids and adults. What are you waiting for? Get ready for next year. World Championship Outhouse Races in Virginia City, Nevada. This year will be the 37th annual Outhouse Races in Virginia City. Virginia City is known as a ghost town and great place to check out to see what life was like for the silver miners in Nevada. If you just want to walk around, it's great for that. And they have one of the best cemeteries I've ever seen. In October, participants push outhouses down C Street. Each team is costumed, complete with a theme. According to the event website, it is the only outhouse race in the U.S. that began as a political protest. One fateful day, the use of outhouse toilets was banned, and angry residents pushed, pulled, and dragged their outhouses to Town Hall. I can support that. If you've gone this far, thank you so much for watching, and please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing. It would help the channel out a lot. UFO Festival, Roswell, New Mexico. Roswell's entire identity is wrapped up in UFOs. It's only natural they would have a UFO festival, right? In fact, they've had a UFO festival since the 1940s, when a UFO was first discovered. The festival has costume contests, music, light parades, and guest speakers. UFO fans travel from all over the world to attend. Or do they travel from all over the universe? So get your ET costume together and join them. They're waiting for you. Tarantula Awareness Fest in Coarse Gold, California. I personally love spiders. I know many people are afraid of them, but I figure that any creature that eats flies and ticks and harmful insects is pretty cool. Tarantulas are way cool. In Northern California, they inhabit a lot of the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Coarse Gold is just south of Oakhurst on Highway 41, very close to the south entrance of Yosemite National Park. It's an old ghost town left over from the 1948 gold rush. This festival takes place in the fall, and you can learn how important the tarantulas are to the area, as well as enjoy some delicious fall foods, listen to great music, as well as a children's and pets costume contests. And there are other fun events. Sounds like a great time to me. The Pumpkin Fest, Half Moon Bay, California. Much like the Gilroy Garlic Festival, the Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Fest is pretty famous, but I thought I needed to include it. This is the 54th year of the festival. The big event of the festival is the weigh-in of the world's biggest pumpkins. And we're not kidding here. These humongous things are brought in by flatbed truck. The largest pumpkin in the world was from the UK and weighed in at 2,819.3 pounds. The ones weighing in at Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Fest will be close, and who knows, they may be bigger. There are plenty of other events, including a pie eating contest, pumpkin carving, costume events, lots of food, music, and arts. It's always suggested that if you decide to go, get there very early, because the parking is really hard to find. And the traffic to get into Half Moon Bay can be monstrous. World's Ugliest Dog Contest in Petaluma, California. Since the 1970s, this contest has taken place in the Sonoma Fairgrounds in June. Now, ugly is in the eye of the beholder because I find these pups adorable. Yeah, okay, I guess they could be looked at as ugly, but I find them really cute. The World's Ugliest Dog Contest began in the 1970s as a way to generate revenue for the old Adobe Association in Petaluma, and member Ross Smith is widely credited as the creator of the contest. After the association considered replacing their pet parade with a dog contest, Smith suggested an ugly dog contest, and the idea stuck. Animal Planet broadcasted the event for many years. There's lots of contestants, and the competition is fierce, and they're all winners, in my opinion. Bigfoot Days, Willow Creek, California. Right in exactly the area where they should be, if they do indeed exist, Bigfoot Days happens. It's going on more than 60 years in July. There's music, a watermelon eating contest, and a Bigfoot calling contest. The town is tiny, and it looks like the festival takes place in most of it. If you find yourself in the mountains of Northern California on highways 299 or 96 in July, stop in for a spell. You might run into Bigfoot. And if you want other things to do, there's plenty of hiking and fishing to do in that part of the state. Clash of the Carvers, Libby, Montana. If you're like me, you had to look up Libby on a map to see where it was. It looks like a great town in a beautiful part of the state, right in the Kootenai Mountains. One thing folks know in that part of the world is how to handle a chainsaw. And that helps because Clash of the Carvers is the premier chainsaw carving contest. It takes place over 4 days on Labor Day weekend, and even though this isn't a silly festival like Mike the Headless Chicken, it's still unusual enough to include on this list. This will be a terrific event to attend, just to see the art created. It's pretty amazing to see what these artists can do, and I'd be up for it. And there you have it. I know there are plenty more, but this gives you a small taste of the fun and interesting events that you can attend in the West. And here's another video for you to check out.